Wide receiver, kind of a little bit of a bigger target. Xavier Legette, 6'1", 223 pounds, South Carolina. What do you like with him?
So you're going to see him here. I like his physical gifts, right? So he's a big physical kid who can really run. 71 receptions last year. He runs a 4.3 40. He's a really solid vertical threat. What I like about these next two guys, him and Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky, is their size. So they're over 200 pounds. So if the Browns with Dickerson are going to go to this condensed formation with a little bit more motion, these kind of guys can not only motion, but they can play tight in those condensed formations, and they can block safeties and linebackers because they're a little bit bigger. So they can run the motion. They can also block. They can do a lot of different things. The thing I like about Legette, his number one quality for me is his ability to make contested catches. So again, a guy who, with the signing of Judy, doesn't have to be a star. He could be that fourth receiver and kind of be a red zone threat with that size. He can also be a gadget guy. He can be a guy who blocks. He could be a guy who runs reverses. So they're going to need some depth. You always need depth in the NFL. And these next two guys kind of fit the same bill where they can run after they catch. They got that Deebo Samuel in them where they can play out the backfield if necessary. They can block. Just big physical guys who just need touches. And Legette's a really physical guy, big guy, and I think would be really, really good in the red zone for the Browns early.
Yeah, you mentioned really important against press man. That's obviously important. And the other thing is the other note I saw, he has to improve his route tree. And those are things that aren't necessarily uncommon in rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, and they got to be able to, you can't teach the physical stuff, right? You can't teach your size and speed, but you can break down those details. And remember, when you're in college, going from high school to college or college to the pros, if you're at that level, you're better than everybody else. So you're able to get away with not being always fundamentally sound because you're just physically better than a person across from you. When you get to the NFL, then all of a sudden you have to, I use Alex Wright as an example for the Browns defense. His first year, he really struggled because he didn't use his hands very well. Last year, he had a lot of success because he started to use his hands, but he couldn't do that unless he was 6'5", 280. And that's, you can't teach the physical skills. You can teach the footwork. You can teach some of the routes. You can teach those things, but you got to be big and fast. And that's what Legette is. That's what Corley is. So there's some guys that, those guys need to be able to make plays, but they don't have to be stars right away. They just got to come in and do what they do best, which is be pretty versatile and give Stefanski another weapon.
So you mentioned Malachi Corley, Western Kentucky, 5'10", 215. This is the guy that draws comparisons to Deebo Samuel.
So, Tim Bielik, a guy I do some draft, especially with, we always have our favorites each year, and this guy is one of my favorites. I really like him. He's self-proclaimed a yak guy, yards after catch. What I like about him is his lower body strength. So his ability, he can do things like screens. But you're going to see what I really like on this run right here is that he's going to get hit right in thighs. And he gets hit right in thighs and doesn't move and then breaks the tackle for a touchdown. Then you're going to see him on this screen, this tunnel screen. Again, his ability to get in space, to break tackles. He's very sudden. He's very twitchy. Again, you could toss him the ball out of the backfield on jet sweeps, regular sweeps. This is just an under route. Little mesh concept from Western Kentucky, a guy who's really good with the ball in his hands. Now, I think with the Browns, because the Browns have a pretty elite roster, now you're talking about a guy who can punt return, maybe a guy who can kick return. They need to improve the little things now. The Browns have got a pretty elite roster. They have to be better on the return games. They have to be better at covering kicks. They have to do everything right if they plan on making a Super Bowl run. This is a guy who can improve a lot of things, and a guy, once again, just come in and be a touch guy. Guy who gets 5 to 7 touches a game, and a guy who can break it because he'll be fresh. Love this guy's film. Sudden, twitchy, electric. One of my favorite film breakdowns of the year so far.